This is hashtag ending the stigma together. And you might be confused because I'm coming at you from the attic. This is a special report. It's a special show, hashtag ending the stigma together. I've told you in earlier episodes of this program that we're on a journey, we're on a campaign to end the stigma as it relates to mental health, as it relates to serious mental illness, as it relates to serious and persistent mental illness. And really, I believe that we all are touched in one way, shape, or form by mental health challenges. And really, that's informed by us all being touched and affected by trauma. So, what I really, it's unbelievable because today I have Sarina DiBianca, who's my friend, who has been a mentor in a lot of ways in some projects I'm working on, who is the executive director of Siloam Wellness. Sarina, hello there. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning to you. Good morning to you. So, listen, we've been in connection. Shout out to my friend Fred Taffer over
Hey, Fred.
yeah, hello Fred over
And
at
Erica.
and they are so great. They've done a lot of they do a lot of my swag. They do a lot of my Erico does a lot of my design work and stuff like that. So Tomvo Visual Promotions outside of Philadelphia, PA. Let's go Mets, by the way. So outside of Philadelphia, PA, Fred Taffer originally connected you and I, Sarina, and we've been connected and been friends for a bunch of years now.
Yeah.
And uh, something you shared with me recently sparked this opportunity, what we're going to do today. And it was the documentary called Positive Living, Positively Living, correct?
Living positive.
Living. I looked at it 5 times today and I had
That's
living
okay.
positive. I knew I wasn't going to say it the right way. It's one of those things like,
You
don't,
got it. You got the
don't
right
go,
the words
don't go
right.
that direction. Don't go that direction. So you said living positively, right? So what we're going to do today is I really want to set the stage, as you and I've talked about Siloam Wellness, about what Siloam does, the programs, how folks are being impacted by this incredible work. Then, after we've established that, you and I are going to cut away and we're going to play the documentary. We're going to watch it together, and then we'll come back and we'll critique a little bit, not so much critique, but little feedback on things like that. So, how's that sound?
Great.
Good. All right, let's set the stage. Let's talk about Siloam Wellness. Please tell us about the organization.
We're a 30-year-old nonprofit that was started back in 1995 to help people who were dying with AIDS. And we offered them a bridge between acquainting themselves with their family, possibly, and help them during that dying process. Speed up. Thank God we don't have to do that anymore. But the stigma and the isolation that goes along with this disease is something that goes along with no other disease, coupled with the stigma of mental health, of trauma, and all of our other stigmas and isolations gets coupled and layered into this particular disease.
Yeah.
So it's terrible.
It is terrible. And I want to go back because, in knowing you for a number of years, I've certainly had you teach me about Sister Bernadette and the genesis, if you will, of this organization, which is a wonderful story. And let's go there so people understand that.
So Bern is a sister of mercy, and she worked with people on the fringes, and she met her first person living with AIDS, and she remembered saying to herself, these are the people they're talking about. He's dying. And then she said, he was so sweet and he was so kind. And she said, he could be my brother. And then she heard those words deep in her soul that said, he is your brother. And she said, I've got to do this. So she called her friend, Father Don Riley, and said, this is what I'm thinking of doing. And he called her back the next day and said, could we do it together? So, as I say in the movie, depending on how you think in life, they are either going to be a rock star or they're going to be the Antichrist, right? So, they're rock stars.
They're rock stars for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so they risked everything that they held dear to them to start Siloam and help people who were pariah and lepers
Mm.
in society 30 years ago. And it's still that way. because um, just to speed up, the largest age group contracting HIV is 13 to 24.
In 2025, the largest age group contracting HIV is age 13 to 24, 30 years from the beginning of this organization, right? It's 25. This was 95 when Sister Byrne. Sister Byrne, I never met you, but I'm going to call you Sister Byrne because that's what I see everybody else doing. I look forward to meeting you and giving you a big hug soon. But that's unbelievable.
By
13.
the way, you will never have a hug like her hug.
No, I'm sure. Oh my God. I'm so I might get in a car after this and drive down. It's you know after all these years of education to know that that age group is the most susceptible to contracting the virus, that's a problem. So one of the tenets that I understand that this organization is about education. So let's talk a little bit about that.
The education that we did just 2 weeks ago was going to LaSalle University and being interviewed by the LaSalle students who come and volunteer for Siloam because they have a TV studio. They're going to take our 24-minute film, Living Positive, and then they're going to take interviewing myself and two gentlemen who were contracted HIV while they were teenagers and what did that do to them and their stories, and put this whole thing into a 1 hour program for students because you can't wait till you're under the sheets to say, hey, do you know your status
Mhm.
and do you have a condom?
Right.
Because it's going to go down no matter what.
Yeah, I guess just from a realistic, practical point of view, you got to know what you're going to do in that situation way before you get into the situation, right? Especially that particular activity in life, sometimes you're distracted and maybe not thinking as clearly and about the health effects of what you're about to do.
So as a female, I need to carry a condom.
Mm,
I need to have it with them
mhm.
because if the person I'm with, if he doesn't have it, I've got to be able to protect myself.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it's that I mean, growing up in an era, so I was born in 78 and so I really grew up in the 90s, there was fear. There was a lot of fear back then. And I wonder, is there not enough fear anymore for young people? I don't know, maybe fear is the wrong emotion I'm looking for, but I remember being fearful growing up.
I think there's so much going on in today's world with what's going on politically, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, you're unhappy. With school shootings, with what's going on out there. There's so much that you actually get numb to all of it. So, HIV, first of all, most kids thought that was cured in the 90s with Magic Johnson.
Yeah,
And so, or they've never even heard of it. There's that. And so, how can you be afraid of something that you don't know about and or something that you thought was cured or when you're little and you get your, vaccinations, well, I got that too,
yeah.
and it doesn't work that way. So I think that and that brings us to the point of the show, trauma, right? So the first thing that happens is somebody walks through my door because they have HIV. But then we have to unpack all of the trauma, whether it's somebody's physical trauma, their emotional trauma, their sexual trauma, the drama trauma, the societal trauma, it's all there. And we hold events, and we're getting ready to hold our sixth annual full court press for awareness
Mhm.
with Jermaine Jones, who was a 76er and LA Laker, and Novar Jackson, who's playing, I mean, Gadstone, I'm sorry, who is right now playing in Japan. And we bring those guys in to talk about their trauma and how they had trauma. And they didn't recognize it. And we're never going to talk at this event about HIV because it would be inappropriate. The kids are coming from ages 8 to 18,
Mhm, mhm.
but we can talk about trauma. And we can say, 10 of you stand up, look at each other. Of the 10 of you standing up, 7 have already said they are living with trauma. 7 out of 10 kids say they live with trauma, and the other 3 don't tell the truth
Mhm.
or are extremely lucky.
I was thinking that. I was like, you know what? Maybe they just don't realize that what they're living through is trauma. The other three, yeah.
Correct.
Real.
And so it's okay to not feel okay.
Yeah.
That's what I tell the kids all the time. It's okay not to feel okay, but it's not okay to do it alone
Mm.
because 7 of your peers are dealing with something similar. They may not have the same trauma that you do, but they have something different and they feel like you do. They feel scared. They feel inadequate. They feel they can't sleep at night. They have outbursts. They're angry. Where does that? And so talk to one another. Talk to any of us, the adults. We're here to help. And so that's where we start the conversation. We can't prevent the trauma, but we can provide you with how to deal with it at an earlier age so your life doesn't get sidelined.
Mm.
So not only do we run basketball events, but we run football events. And we have a gentleman named Isaac Redman who played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who was a running back. And I remember him saying, I wasn't the best, but the streets got the kids that were the best before the NFL could get them. What is that saying? And when you talk to VAR and Jermaine and all of these football players, they all say that they turned their internal, whatever was going on, that internal trauma into just fierceness on the court,
Mm.
on the field. But what happens when the ball stops? The trauma is still there. And if all that anger went against the backboard or on the field,
Real.
what
Yeah.
what do you do when it stops?
Yeah. Right. They were repurposed it, right, and redirected it to play the game, but it hasn't gone away. And we're gonna watch the documentary, the movie. I love how you call it the movie. I like to call it the movie too. We're gonna watch it in a bit, but I watched it over the weekend again, and um
I cry every time I watch it.
yeah,
It's so
yeah,
amazing.
definitely that. And what stood out specifically for me was like the overlap of that stigma as it relates to substance abuse and the trauma and then HIV and AIDS and it's all interwoven in when folks reach Siloam Wellness when they get to the organization. um there's, as you say, so much to unpack, but this line I think is cliche. We hear it all the time, but it's like we meet people where they are, but that's a real like situation, like accepting, meeting people where they are and providing them the lifeline and the services they need, right?
I had a family member, a niece, say to me, aren't you afraid to give them a hug? Aren't you afraid you'll catch it?
Right, right.
And that's the sad part is the lack of knowledge. And so you have to learn that if you are living with, and this is why people don't disclose. We have people that say, I go to family dinners and everybody gets china and I get a paper plate and a plastic fork because they think by sitting at the dining room table with me on Thanksgiving, they're going to get it.
You're
So
not,
I'm
but
already,
you're not talking 25 years ago. You're talking
no, we're
like
not.
that's now,
No,
right?
we're not.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
In the film, you will see a gentleman who in 2021 went to the hospital who was told, get out of here. I don't see your kind.
Yeah,
And I said to him at the moment, because he came directly to me crying, he was sick,
yeah.
right? He's sick. I don't feel good. And I was just absolutely humiliated and embarrassed and disrespected, and the list goes on and on and on, by a physician, a medical professional who supposedly took a Hippocratic oath. And I think to myself that that doctor, he needs to like turn in his license
Yeah.
and get the hell out of the profession because he's not a good guy.
Yeah.
But having said that, when he said to me, he said, I don't see your kind. I remember saying to him, what kind is that, Kevin? Is it human? Humankind? Because that's who we all are. We're human. And we are dealing with so much, right? We're dealing with so much. How do I navigate? And this is the most healthy of us. And it's funny, yesterday, on Sunday, went and there was a panel dealing with trauma. So it was Coach Phil Martelli, who had been with St. Joe's for 35 years in Michigan U, Tony Volovic, who was a Boston Red Sox pitcher, uh, um, a, a, a woman named Asia Sparks, who is a an actress and a songwriter, and then a doctor who is a psychologist and an educator. And her name was Dr. Haynes. And so we put this panel together to talk about trauma. And there were principals in the room saying that I'm having we want to talk to the parents, and I'm getting ready to cancel the event because I don't have enough parents that are coming. Is it because they're stretched so thin? I'm working three jobs. I can't figure out how to feed my kids, and or do I feed them or keep them heat on? And so going to their school to talk to a principal, it is not high on my priority list. And Dr. Haynes said, don't cancel it because if two show up, the two need it. And I thought that was brilliant of her. Um, so how do we help parents with their trauma of just trying to get through life? And your kids are facing, you and I, when we were in school, we didn't face school bombings, school shootings, Sandy Hooks. We didn't. And then some people on the other extreme media say Sandy Hook was a hoax. It never happened. So now you're traumatizing the victims who have lived through that. So there's that going on. And these kids are so numb, they don't even know where the trauma lies.
When we started this series, hashtag ending the stigma together, it was really about, or it is about, I mean, we're just at the beginning of this journey. It's about this journey to explore how do we end the stigma and normalize the conversation around going to seek help and going to get therapy and, supporting and being a caregiver to a loved one who has serious mental illness and all these different angles. And, as I say, it's a journey, it's an exploration. So, now it's ending the stigma around trauma and ending the stigma because, certainly ending the stigma as it relates to the conversation of HIV and AIDS and protection and education and things like that. But in the last 3, 4 weeks, and speaking to you, we've been focused in on this trauma piece. And trauma is really what informs much of these challenges. And in your experience, in a lot of cases, and having watched the movie, we'll call it the movie, and we're going to watch it again. Um, you know, it was it's that trauma that put people into making decisions and getting involved in activities that put their lives in jeopardy. And It's why some of the folks in the movie became positive with HIV and AIDS um, because of the decisions they made as a result of what happened earlier in their lives.
Yeah. And then we haven't even dealt with the secondary trauma. So, what about all of those caregivers that are out there? The psychologists, the case managers, the myself, yourself, you hear these stories every day, and you can't go home not affected. You can't go home and not cry your baby eyes out on the way home from a meeting when you hear a woman talk about being sexually molested by her foster father from the time she was 2. You have a young gentleman who might be gay, whose mother said to him when he was 7, if I had known you were going to be like this, I would have aborted you on the kitchen floor. These are the stories we hear day in and day out, and how can they not affect you? And more importantly, how can that child grow up with a healthy sense of self? It doesn't exist. So what do you do when you feel less than? You try to drown it in drugs, in alcohol, in risky sexual behavior, whatever the case may be. But all you were trying to do was get through the day
Yeah. Yeah, right. So we're in pain, so we seek ways to get out of pain, and often it's
or numb it.
numb the pain, right? Yeah, so that's and that's the experience we look for, something to I want to feel better, so I'm gonna go do things that make me feel, or I just don't want to feel so bad, so I'm going to make a decision that will numb out the pain and not make me feel so bad. Let's introduce the film. Let's set it up. How did this happen? Who came to you to do the film? Sarina, what's the backstory there?
So Siloam, we need to start with, is the only organization that does mind, body, and spiritual wellness for people living with HIV in the entire United States. We're the only one. So there is a wonderful organization called Find Help, and they do exactly what they do, find help. So if you move to a city, and you don't know where the resources are and you live below the poverty line, you'd go to Find Help, call them, go online, put in your zip code 19123. I need a food pantry. I need to know where clinics are. I need to know where I can get resources for myself or my kids. And Find Help gives you all of that. And they approached me and said, "You are so unique that we are going to," there you go, that's them.
That's them.
And so we would like to create a documentary about you. And I thought to myself, okay, sure they know. And sure enough, put him, yep. And
I can
then
put one in. Yep.
they absolutely did it. And the filmmakers flew in on 3 different occasions. And they actually came in and filmed Full Court Press, the basketball event.
Okay.
It they came back to me and said, and the movie is 24 minutes, because if anybody out there knows of anybody on a TV station and could get
Mhm.
this documentary to be aired for a half-hour program, there are 6 minutes of commercials. So
Got it.
by design, it was made for 24 minutes. They could plop in their commercials and it's, TV ready. Having said that, they put in the prevention work, but then felt they weren't telling the story of either one, either the prevention work or the original mission, fairly.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
you and really told them. So they pulled out the full court press and just stuck with the original mission, um, which is amazing.
So we're gonna watch that now together, everybody. It's um it's incredibly raw. It's educational. As you mentioned, you can't help but become emotional when you watch this. After Sarina and I watch the film with you all, we'll come back and kind of do a quick wrap up on the show. So here we go. We're gonna go, as they say in the film business, let's go to the videotape. So that's what we're gonna do. We'll be back.
I really didn't believe God loved me because of what happened to me when I was little. Unfortunately, I was molested from 2 to 5 by my daddy. Brought to Philadelphia when I was 6, dumped on the system. My first set of foster parents told me that bad things happen to bad people and that God didn't like bad people. I thought that God didn't like me, so I made a decision as a child to hate him. I re-met my mother when I was 13, and her husband molested me when I was 13. And so my life took off, unfortunately, for the worse. Selling drugs, doing drugs, prostituting, running the streets. Kind of did that off and on for 39 years. Wow. I get paranoid just the thought of people in my building knowing that I have HIV, because as confident as I am and as much acceptance as I have, I don't do well with judgment. Being a drug addict and being HIV positive have a lot of things in common, especially stigma.
I went to the hospital, and the doctor found out that I was living with AIDS and lost his mind. Made me feel like I was a leper from the Bible. Get out, I'm not touching you, and you got AIDS. And he was a doctor, a medical professional. And it was like 2020. If I wasn't coming to Siloam, I wouldn't have been prepared for that kind of stigma. And I was so grateful for being in Siloam, for having the tools that I have, because if I was newly diagnosed that day, I would have went out and committed suicide.
The stigma, sadly, is alive and well with regard to HIV. So having a safe place for people to come and feel like they can be who they are, exactly who they are, was really of paramount importance in the beginning, and I don't think the need and the value of that has changed.
The name of this year's retreat is Scarred by Struggle, Transformed by Hope.
Oh, I like that.
Okay?
That's cool.
So we're gonna have a lot of good things for you to do.
We are the only mind, body, and spiritual wellness center for those living with HIV and AIDS.
We have Sue Cassidy doing massages. We have Pat McDonough doing either massage or Reiki. And we have Rita doing Reiki. So,
And what Siloam does is we fit a need for people that might not otherwise have access.
Ashley, have you ever had Reiki before?
No, is it food?
No.
That was a good one.
Okay. Reiki is energy healing.
It's food for the soul.
Yes,
that's a good one.
You were
That's a
actually
good one.
right.
It's the only place I know that you can get into a bus with 18 strangers, and by the time you get to where you're going, you're all connected.
It works every time.
It's opened the door for a lot of people. Just the camaraderie that comes from it.
All of us have a chronic illness, and it pulls us all together. You know, when one person hurts, we all hurt.
These retreats are really integral to the kind of work that we do and emblematic of the spirituality, the community, the self-reflection that helps all of us not just become survivors, but people who take their diagnosis and start to really thrive. Not despite HIV, but because of it.
Hi, Ashley. Hi, Bob. How are you, dear? I'm home. Good. Let me get that door. Yeah.
The retreats are about taking a step away from it all. It is about our people thinking about themselves, to reflect and to store up that energy you need to get through day-to-day life.
How you doing today? Number 3B, second floor. Really big. Follow time, please.
And frankly, it's not about really the diagnosis most of the time. It's about the other challenges that life presents that bring us together and finding ways to overcome those things.
I was diagnosed November 18th, 2008. I remember the exact day. I was 26. That was rough. I just got out of an abusive relationship. I was working full-time. I was going to school full-time, taking care of my children. I had just got my first apartment. I was not adhering to my medication. I wasn't taking it regularly. That was one of my biggest struggles back then because there was so many other factors going on at the time. Do we have enough food? Am I going to pay this bill or am I going to pay the rent? Just dealing with so many things that HIV kind of took a back seat, but it was a big focus at the same time, if that makes any sense. So when I came into Siloam, I was exhausted.
For people who don't have means, having HIV is a full-time job.
Well, now I took blood pressure. But 30 years ago, I was ACTs. ACTs, Sativa, enriches.
You've got to negotiate lots of social service systems. Just the medical systems alone are quite complex. And it doesn't go smoothly. Things go wrong, records get messed up. So if you put all that together, it's a very difficult thing to do. It's not simply, oh, I'll take my medication every day and I'll be fine. Well, welcome everybody, as always. Appreciate you all being here. I'm going to ask Garvin, sitting next to me, if he would start us off by reading the rules.
We have people that have been coming to our HIV support groups for 28 years.
This is a sacred and safe space. Hate has no home here. We do not tolerate discrimination in any form.
It started out with 4 of us, myself and 3 other people. And then it blossomed from there because I heard about this group where you can be yourself. And it's probably one of the best support groups in the city. I'm John, and the virus has been living with me now since '82. And all in all, things are going pretty well. My life has been a roller coaster. In and out of jails, homelessness, addiction, and just a lot of instability. I was an IV drug user, and that's how I became positive. I could barely walk when I got to Siloam. I got cryptococcal meningitis. I got released from prison to go stay at a hospice. Sister Byrne, Siloam's co-founder, was talking one day, and I heard this little angelic voice, and I just sat there and listened. And she said, I belong to a facility called Siloam, and we deal with people living with HIV.
When I found Siloam, I was in a lonely stage. I really thought that there was no hope for me. I would never amount to anything. All my life I was on drugs, all my life I was doing things illegal. So to be a productive member of society, it was something that I had to learn how to do. I heard about Siloam, so I went down there, and it was beautiful. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. I met Sister Burns from the first day I went in Siloam, and she said, hey, come here, dear, give me a kiss. And she would kiss, this lady touching me and she kissing me. People used to try to stay away from me, but this lady want to come up and hold my hands. You know, for where people say, oh, get away from me, oh, ew. You know, it was the opposite.
Sister Byrne is the most wonderful, warm, and friendly person you could ever meet in your life. I've never known anyone to not love her.
In one word, she is magical. She is the bomb.
She's a cute little girl, isn't she? Now I'm 81, but I still think I'm 17. I do. I entered the community of the Sisters of Mercy right after high school. So I've been a teacher and a principal. The kids were just great, and I love teaching. But then I met someone with HIV/AIDS, and I was very conscious of how they were looked down upon terribly.
It was 1995, and people were dying.
The world was going insane. I mean, people were just dying like flies. So many people being ostracized. So many of us being thrown out of our houses, treated like you wasn't even a person, a human being.
That's why I wanted to get involved. I wanted to help create a place where people are welcomed for who they are.
She called her friend, Father Don Riley, and said, I'm really thinking of doing something with people on the fringes, and especially with HIV and AIDS.
He called me back the next day and he said, could I do that with you? I would love to do that with you.
And so they started Siloam.
Siloam is about engaging, embracing, and truly loving.
Father Don Riley and Sister Bernadette Canary, an Augustinian priest and a Sister of Mercy, the renegades in the church. I personally think they're rock stars because they stepped out of their comfort zone. They put their careers on the line to say, we don't want to make it religious. We want to serve all people. We want there to be no judgment.
We're all members of this community. We all have different roles maybe, but everyone brings something to the table, and we're all in it together. And we're all in it for our own growth, our own healing.
I got on the train at 6:49. I didn't get home till 12:30 because a woman jumped in front of the train.
Oh my God. People are often sharing very deeply, very painful experiences and struggles and difficulties.
But I don't know why I can't get that woman out of my brain.
It's a horrible tragedy anytime someone takes her life. The vast majority of folks involved in the community, including those of us who volunteer here, had experienced trauma.
The world is not exactly a very loving place all the time. So Siloam has been a magnet for those who need love. And I've been through quite a few things in my life. It has been painful, it has been hurtful, and it has caused me to get lost. But the thing is, if I didn't go through those things, guess what? I wouldn't be who I am now, and I actually love me today. My life has been a catalyst for me to support others. I am a spiritual life coach, I'm a trauma coach, I'm a recovery coach. I am 65 years old, and I'm just getting started.
We have the most amazing volunteers who bring their talents and bring their love to Siloam. We try to give a broad variety of classes, and it was only local. And then this thing called COVID happened, and I said, okay, this is my opportunity. And within 4 days, I had every single group that we ran online.
It started out with just like 2 people, 3 people, but every week it's like 9 or 10 people. I'm like, wow, the numbers are steady now. There are people who come from London. I have a woman from North Carolina, Oklahoma. There's a lot of people from Philly. There are people from New Jersey, and we're expanding. Okay, everybody, welcome to the Grief Support Group. Today we have a special day. We're gonna talk about gratitude. Most people come because they lost someone, but then there are other things that happen. There are people who have been subject to many different things, such as addictions, trauma, or rape. So I'm there for them.
Trauma is a shattering experience. So I think we see it as an opportunity through a variety of means to be able to integrate all of that into a person who's moving toward wellness and not stuck in a shattered sense of self. That can take a long time. It's sort of like grieving. You know, grieving doesn't necessarily ever end. It changes.
2 weeks ago, I had to put closure on my daughter who recently passed away. So I kept hearing her in my ear saying, Dad, go to a meeting. Dad, go to a meeting. Stop crying. Stop feeling bad.
When I came into Siloam, it helped me to look at me as a whole person. You know, we're not going to question you about your medicine and things like that. Let's talk about you. How are you feeling? What are you dealing with?
Happy birthday to you. Okay, a little faster. Happy birthday to you.
As those pieces started falling together, then I was able to focus on medication and those important things. That brought me to a place now where I'm undetectable. As long as you're undetectable, you are untransmittable.
I'm 40 years old. I'm 40 years old. Exactly.
I love my family. I've been married for 9 years. My husband is HIV negative.
Years old. God bless you. May God bless you. May God bless you. May God bless you. Amen. Amen. All right.
We had 11 children between the two of us. 5 of them live with us, so we're a very busy household. I also have a nonprofit called I Am You, where I serve women who are living with HIV. It's my hope that somebody can benefit from the things that I've experienced.
We are all loving and loved. And that always is the truth. Always our higher power is with us, in us, and in everyone that we see. And may we always know that to be true. Amen. Anything that we do, we just want it to be life-giving for them. That it be something that will help them to be happy, help them to be learning more and more about themselves, becoming their own true self.
Ki otakiwa ekarune shimpaitune, conchite ju hokime hitune sensitsune. I've been coming to Siloam for about 8 years. We're a family. We're all connected. We all have that need for guidance and spirit. I always enjoy the retreat. It always comes to me when I need it. Reiki is basically universal energy. My true self trying to connect with your true self. We're not separate, we're all together as one. And that's really exciting. It's really critical for all of us to incorporate this in our health program. It's not to replace it, it's to supplement.
I was kind of closed-minded at first. Like, I ain't doing this shit. I just felt like it was like nerdy white people that did it. Most Black people are not raised to do Tai Chi, yoga, and meditation.
They help people. They deepen people. They free people. I've seen it.
It's funny how you can be closed-minded about something because you weren't, like, taught. I didn't know that coming to Siloam would open up my spirit.
I feel like everything's okay. Everything is okay inside of you. Yes. Everything's okay. I'm okay. It brings you to your center. And in your center, you are okay. Oh, that's so lovely.
Siloam is fertile ground. When you come there, you grow. And it helped me. It helped me become a better man, and I ran with that.
So some colors have symbolism, like green is always a symbol of hope. And I almost never do a painting, even an abstract painting, without putting at least a little bit of green in it, because there always has to be hope. So
it compelled me to start making NA meetings. And then I just said, you know what? I'm gonna go into a rehab.
That's beautiful. Julius diamonds, isn't it?
And while I was there, I met this young lady. Well, I need to let you know today that woman is my wife.
We ask you, Lord, to watch over our family, to watch over our friends. We thank you once again for the retreat with Siloam at the perfect time in our lives.
Today, I'm undetectable. There's no HIV in me can be found because I'm taking my medication.
We thank you for everything that you do. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Okay. Be sure to me by 3.
Okay.
It must be 10.
When you see me, you see a man that's capable. And this is all because of me coming to Siloam, finding that place of serenity that allowed me to go take that serenity and pass it off to other people.
This is the pill I take to help me stay healthy, right? Y'all ready? I know it happened to me for a reason because of the people that I've been able to meet since then, because of the lives I've been able to touch since then. I feel like HIV saved my life. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Medication motivation!
I stopped drinking. I stopped drugging. I eat right. I take my medication. And I don't sleep on the streets anymore.
It's helped a lot. They never judged me. I could always come here whenever I wanted to. I could always get any kind of help I wanted to. That's what kept me coming back. I'm just a totally different person. And it's like a combination of God, Siloam, NA, my grandmom. Even when I'm like in pain or when I'm hurting, I don't know, I'm happy.
See him.
Thank you.
See you soon. Thanks for being here.
I guess we won't meet next Thursday.
We will.
Oh, we will. Yeah.
If it weren't for Sister Bernadette, so many of us wouldn't have no place to go. Yeah, and I'm grateful that God gave her that notion to open up Siloam for people like me.
We'll see you all Thursday.
It has made me want to embrace all people around the world.
Bye, sweetie. Love you. I'll give Wendell everybody's love. See you, my brother.
Hi, Michael.
Bye-bye.
Because every single person is precious. We are really all one family.
Bye, Sarina.
Have a safe trip home. I will meet you at Siloam.
And not even just the people, the dogs and the cats and all of it. We are one family, and I love it.
Wow. Sarina, thank you for bringing this film to me, and just even the way it ends, you know, with Sister Byrne saying every single person is precious. We're all one family. And I like she throws in the cats and the dogs and everything like that. Sister Byrne, I can't wait to meet you.
And she whinnies and meows and does all her sound effects to go along with it.
Oh my gosh. I knew it. You said it. We both said it, that you can't get through the film without becoming emotional. And, you know, the stories from Butterfly's story to Lynette's story to Derek's story, John's story, which I think we should talk about John's story, but even, you know, Dr. Bob talking about even the folks who are the volunteers are working through trauma and are healing, which just goes to show right to the end with Sister Byrne, it's we are one family and we must find that love and compassion for each other. What did you know, what stood out? I mean, you've probably seen this film 100 times now. What stood out that you want to talk about?
There's so much. There's so much.
How about John's story?
So John is amazing. So, you know, by watching the film, he was let out of the hospital to go home to die. because he had been an IV drug user. Go home and die. He meets Byrne. And this is the story throughout Siloam's history, is how the healing continues. John now works for the city of Philadelphia as a case manager. He helps people who were him, who lived through and are living through and are going through everything that he has been through. So he uses his trauma to help others heal. Derek and Jody, they're out on the streets, both drug addicts, met at Siloam, got married, fell in love, who are now pastors and go out in the Kensington area, hand out food, minister to people, try to help them get clean and sober and off the streets. I can't begin to explain how amazing our people are. And I will get emotional because our people are what society would consider at one point in time in their lives the dregs of the earth, people that weren't worthy. Let me tell you something. They have the deepest faith than anybody I've ever known. They have more character than anybody I've ever known. Butterfly knows this. She is my personal hero. She's one of. How do you live through being sexually abused by the time you were 2? Whose parents were drug addicts that put you on the street to be a prostitute by the time you were 13? Hey, Tommy, you and I both have a daughter. We'd be having this conversation from prison.
Yeah.
This would be a prison ministry because I would.
Yeah.
And so would you.
Yeah.
Anybody that hurt our child.
Yeah.
Yet, the people who were supposed to protect her were the ones selling her out. And I met her when she was very clean and sober, and I was with Siloam for 1 week. And they said to me when I was hired, hey, we're going on a 3-day retreat. You know, we need you to come. And this was my introduction. She happened to sit next to me. She started telling her story, and because she was so newly clean and sober and so emotionally raw, she was hysterical, snot flying, tears dropping. And I remember looking at her going, holy crap, I'm not prepared for this. Nobody prepared me for this. And what she didn't say in the movie that she did say that day was how she hated God. She did say that. And then she said, and if there is a God, how could he ever forgive me for what I have done? And I remember breaking in half going, how could not God be anything but so proud of you for who you are today? You got through it all, girl. And that's why she's my personal hero.
Yeah.
How could God be anything but proud of her?
I have one more question before we go, and you know what's coming up for me now is just the ripple effect of the people who work and volunteer with this organization and who are now, you know, the participants are the peer advocates and the connections and the relationships and that ripple effect, which we could explore this again on another episode of the show. There was something you mentioned to me last week or so when it was about seeking help as it relates to mental health and therapy and things like that. And I've come on my program here and say, hey, gang, I see my therapist twice a week and I make a big deal about it because I'm normalizing it. I'm doing my best to normalize it. You mentioned that, you know, the selflessness versus the selfishness about seeking help and things like that. Speak to that if you could, because yeah, I think you have such a great point on that.
So we actually run a poetry program, and it's for the people who don't want to seek traditional therapy because they think it's a sign of weakness, when in my opinion, it is purely a sign of strength. It's the strong person that goes and asks for help, not only for themselves, yes, it is for themselves, but when I go to therapy It's to help my marriage. It's to help me be a better parent to my girls. It helps me become, a better sister, a better person in society, one that's a little kinder, a little softer, who can understand that everybody is going through something. So the poetry, they are asked to write a poem, bring a song, write a song that has to deal with something that's on your heart. So if it's friendship and you read your poem about friendship, it gives me the opportunity to say, my friend hurt my feelings, and here's why. And give my feelings and emotions in a non-therapeutic, non-traditional group setting that will help you heal in the way that you need to help heal. So we try to offer things that are very specific. HIV support group, trauma support group, grief support group, men's group. But then we also look at things that aren't as traditional in healing, such as Reiki, which is energy healing. So you remember seeing Dave Ghana, who came to us. Dave experienced so much trauma in his life, and he buried 2 husbands who died of AIDS. And David became a Reiki master because we have a Reiki master, Ria Elias, who teaches people Reiki 1, 2, 3, and 4, how to become a Reiki master, how to help heal yourself, keep yourself centered. Whether it's yoga, whether it's tapping energy, we all have energy meridians in our body. And what do those energy meridians do? And if you think about when you get really, really upset, or little kids, they go, oh man, what did I do? I can't believe I did that. I'm so dumb. That's the most basic form of Reiki. Tapping. It's
Wow.
resetting your brain. It's resetting your brain. When you think of, going to a place where breath work, we run a breath work class. The only two, if you want to learn how to breathe, watch your baby. The only humans, unless you're trained, that breathe properly are babies, and they breathe from their belly. They're laying there and their belly rises. Their belly rises. Animals all breathe from their bellies. We have learned to suck it all up, breathe up here, and hold everything here, and then have heart attacks and stress out. So we go to our breathwork class and learn how to breathe from our bellies and heal.
This is so incredible. I think as you were talking about watching, my children are not exactly babies anymore. I think about watching my dog Cheeto when he breathes and when he sleeps, and he just kind of knocks out anywhere he wants, and he just breathes, and he seems so chilled out and so relaxed. And he could sleep for days, that dog.
So when a horse, I have horses,
Yeah.
right? So out in the wild, when a horse is being, sought after by a lion, right? And they run and they run and they run and they run. And they're lucky enough to escape the lion. When they stop running, they shake and they shake it all off.
Yeah.
And then they go back to grazing.
Right. So they've taken all that stress and they've pushed it away, whereas those of us in the human form have not been able to manage that. We carry this stress and the cortisol and all this stuff in our body. And I hear it around in people around me, and sometimes with my children, especially where they're breathing like that, just up here, and I go, and I'm just like, I try to say, and I see it in myself too, and I just say, take the deep breath. Let's just, because when you're taking those very short breaths, I feel like you're certainly not calm, but you're on edge. You're edgy when you don't breathe the
And
right.
you're also not giving oxygen to all the parts of your body that it
Right.
needs to
So
have.
how can we think the right way and think clearly when we're not getting all that oxygen we need?
Correct.
Yeah. So we're going to leave it here, everybody. The website is siloamwellness.org, and I'm looking over at the other monitor, so it's SILOAM wellness.org. Sarina DiBianca is my friend, the executive director of the organization. Sarina, I'm going to ask you one other question, actually, before we go, because we close the show, #ending the stigma, with always making sure I ask this question. So as it relates to mental health, as it relates to trauma, and even as it relates to specifically HIV and AIDS, how do you believe we end the stigma?
Talk about it. Normalize it. Let everyone know it's okay to not feel okay.
Yes.
But don't do it alone, because everybody else that is maybe not dealing with the same exact thing, but they're dealing with something.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Talk about
Get it out of your system. Shake it off. Just like my horse does. Shake it off.
Shake it off. I think that's a Taylor Swift song.
Yes, it is.
Shake it off. I got a couple of Swifties in the house. I became a bit of a Swiftie myself. But yes, Tommy D's a Swiftie. Don't let the whole world know, but Tommy D's a Swiftie. Hey, Taylor.
Hi, Taylor.
Hey, Taylor. So listen, I just want to leave you all with this last thing. Robin Williams has this quote, and it goes like this: everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind always. This has been another In Focus production. Thanks everybody for checking in. Reach out. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Tommy. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Sarina. I appreciate you. Bye, everybody.